Welcome to Das Geek. This is a very special video because this is only the second time me and Michael have done a collaboration like this where we're in the same place together. We just finished Destination Linux recording for the week, so if you're not familiar, make sure you go check out Destination Linux podcast, one of the best podcasts out there. Period. I'm not biased at all. I just happen to be one of the hosts on there, and so is Michael.
In fact, I agree that it's one of the best podcasts out there. I'm not biased either.
So what we wanted to do in our collaboration is on our Discourse forums. If you go to destinationlinux.network, we have Discourse forums where all the communities come together and talk. A lot of people have been, in fact, even in my local LUG group, Coffee and Linux in North Georgia, which you were able to join me this week, people were talking about security. What are some ways, some simple ways that people can start getting into and embracing security? Now, there are people who will go so far down the rabbit hole that you might as well put on a tinfoil hat, spend the next 6 months, take a break off work, reconfigure every network, Wi-Fi connection, device you have, and it gets too far. But
that sounds good. Let's do it.
Yeah, but a lot of people just they're like, listen, I need something I can do simple that's not going to basically remove all the functionality of my workflow. And one of those things is Bitwarden. Now, prior to Bitwarden, I used Dashlane for a while. This was back when I was still on Windows, I believe. That was kind of my go-to. And then I used LastPass when I switched over to Linux for a while. And then you were like, dude, you got to try Bitwarden out. And I'm like, I don't know. You get everything set up in one of these password managers. It's really hard to want to leave them. But I did the migration, and I couldn't be happier. Like, literally my favorite password manager I've ever used. And I think it was similar to you because you used to use LastPass.
I used LastPass for a very long time because they always had like some good security people saying that they were you could trust them and all that stuff. And for the most part, I felt that I could, the way that their encryption was set up and that their encryption was locally done through JavaScript on the browser, and that part was technically open. And I still felt like I wanted something that was more of an open-based software system that I could rely on and even self-host it. Because I prefer to do self-hosting when I can. And then I found Bitwarden. And when I first saw Bitwarden, I was like, well, okay. Because my entire thing was like, you know what I want? I don't want to use something like KeePass where I have to find individual pieces for every single thing that I need, every device I need to deal with, all this other stuff. What I wanted to find was a way to do why can't there be a LastPass that's more open or a LastPass that's self-hosted and all this other stuff? Then I find Bitwarden and was like, this is exactly what I wanted. Yeah. Like, exactly. And in some ways, they even had features that I didn't even know I wanted, and I did. Because Bitwarden made it super simple to transition. They made it very similar to the workflow of other password managers. And overall, I think Bitwarden is just the best option.
Absolutely. So we're going to do a two-part video. The first part is going to be discussing Bitwarden. That's going to be here on my channel. And then the second video will actually be on Michael's channel. So head to Tux Digital in YouTube, or just go to tuxdigital.com and you'll get the YouTube link there. And you'll have the second part of this video where he'll show you some of the, actually show you Bitwarden as is. But for right now, we're going to kind of talk about all the features and things that Bitwarden has and why you would want to use this as your password manager. So now we're going to switch over to Bitwarden to kind of show you their website as we discuss some of this. Okay, so this is Bitwarden's main site, and as you're going to see here, they're saying it's completely free to install. Now, one of the things I try to tell people as they're getting into security and privacy is follow the money trail. If something is permanently free, that can usually be a red flag that something's wrong, meaning at some point they're going to install ads or you're going to lose support for the application. It can be a huge red flag. The good news is we know how Bitwarden makes money. They make money through their enterprise solutions, and because you can actually pay at a certain point if you want additional features, although they give you a lot of fantastic features with the free account. But with additional features you can pay, which I highly recommend. It's super inexpensive for this. So we know they have the ability to make money on this site, and therefore, to me, that is a great sign for as LastPass and things. I know they have some enterprise stuff, but they're not open source, so I can't see the code behind the scenes like Michael was talking about, which, to me, I don't know what they're doing with that. I don't know if they get subpoenaed or are they turning it over. Is there a back door in it? None of that.
They're also owned by LogMeIn now, because that's one of the big reasons I wanted to switch, because LogMeIn has been known for making claims and totally lying about what they're going to do. We're going to be open, we're going to be free forever, and next year, no, we're not. It's that kind of thing is what LogMeIn does. So as soon as they bought LastPass, I was like, no, I don't trust the people who own it now, so I definitely don't trust this password manager to store the most important secured data that you could possibly have. No, thank you.
Yeah.
So insert Bitwarden.
So one of the great things about Bitwarden as well is that it's available across all your major desktop and mobile OSs. So whether you're an Android fan, an iOS fan, maybe you have a mixture of Linux computers and Windows computers and Mac computers in your house, Bitwarden's available across every single device, meaning once you get your password set up, it's going to sync them all together. You're going to have them all in one place, which is fantastic. Additionally, it's available in all of the major web browsers there. Google Chrome, Firefox, Opera, although you should only be worried about one, and that's Firefox. I'm not going to get on a soapbox about it, but you should be using Firefox, period, end of story.
I will get on a soapbox and go check out my video about the 7 reasons why Firefox is the best browser ever. So there you go.
In addition to this, you can actually interface with Bitwarden through the CLI interface, which is the command line interface, which is absolutely awesome because think about headless servers and things. If you're an admin, you work on a headless server where you don't have GUI availability to launch GUI applications, you'll be able to get your passwords and things through the command line. Also, think about this. If you want to show off to your friends and look like a hacker, what a fantastic way to do so by using the command line.
Naturally.
Yeah, it looks like complete magic there. So it's completely 100% open source, which means you can review all of the code. That means complete freedom that you get with Bitwarden, which is something that's very important. But hosting it yourself. So I personally pay Bitwarden to do the hosting for me. You mentioned you like to host your own things sometimes.
I do both,
Michael,
actually.
So which one do you prefer?
I actually think that so far Bitwarden has done everything that philosophically that I expected them to. That they've done auditing for their software. So one of the things that people said the first time when they announced that Bitwarden was a thing, they were like, I don't trust it because it has been audited. It has been audited. They even paid a third-party company to audit it for them. And you could say, well, they paid for it to be audited. That's the only way to get auditing to be done, unless you have a community open source one to audit it. But people want a full security team to audit it, and that's what they did. They paid a third-party, completely the party has been doing auditing for a very long time, so it's a trusted auditor. And they said that they found a few problems, nothing catastrophic issues. They found a few problems, and every problem they found has already been fixed by Bitwarden. So that's another reason why I like Bitwarden. But in the open source part of it being hosted or not hosted, the fact that you can do this is fantastic. And you can even migrate from a hosted to a self-hosted if you ever want to. But I think it's really cool because they offer a Docker image that makes it possible for you to easily just set up a DigitalOcean droplet by going to do.co/DL, and you can get your own DigitalOcean droplet and just put a Docker image in there of Bitwarden to get started really easy and really quickly. Well, I would say that depending on how versed you are with setting up servers, it's easy. If you're not a server person, then the Bitwarden hosted version, I think, is totally fine.
And frankly, you probably don't want to do the self-hosted unless you're a server person, because you need to know basic security, how to lock down a server, all of those things. So if you're not somebody who understands server security, let them host it for you.
Very important.
And here are the prices here. On a personal account, free forever. And you get access and install the Bitwarden app, sync all your devices, no limits, store unlimited items, log in secure, 2-step authentication, secure password generation, which Michael will show you in the actual application in his video. Self-host on your own server is optional for $10 a year. Not a month, not a week. $10 a year is all you have to pay, and you get these extra features here, which I would give it to them if they give me no extra features, just to give these guys some money and make sure they stick around. And no, they didn't pay us for this. I've personally never ever spoken to any of the developers there. This isn't a sponsored video. I'm just a huge believer in Bitwarden. I love everything about it, and it fits the open source criteria, which is the most important, but it's also extremely secure, and it's an example of an open source software that's better than the commercial alternatives out there.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I would even say to the Bitwarden people, if you are watching this, we do have a podcast that you might want to consider sponsoring, so feel free to do that.
Absolutely. So $10 a year, you get some extra things. A gigabyte of encrypted file storage, so you can have some encrypted files that you keep out there. 2-step login from YubiKey, which I utilize YubiKeys a lot. Fantastic additional security tip there. Two-factor authentication, password hygiene, and Vault Health reports. The TOTP. So this allows you, if you use two-factor authentication with the time codes, one-time password codes, then you can, where you usually it'll text to your phone, or maybe you use something like, what are some of the popular ones out there?
Like Authy or something?
Authy, there you go. Yeah. Authy or something like that. You could use this instead, so it's all built into your password tool.
Is there an open OTP or a free OTP, something like that?
Yeah, there's also free OTP, which is an open source version that I did a video on. I use a combination of security options for me. So depending on the complexity of the passwords or what I branch it into, certain bank accounts, I'll put different security measures in place. So some things you can only get into with my YubiKey, other things you may use Authenticator to get into, and this just creates a little more difficulty for people wanting to get into my stuff. But you get those additional options there, and priority customer support. So notice you still get customer support with free, but you get a little bit priority with the $10 a year, which absolutely makes sense. 100% fair. Love it.
I mean, more than fair. The fact that it's $10 a year is ridiculous. Like LastPass is like $24, $25 a year or something, and that's after LogMeIn bought them and increased the price.
Yeah,
we're never going to increase the price except Psych. And whereas Bitwarden was, even the price that they have now was still cheaper than the cheap version that LastPass had. So it's fantastic.
Yep. If you're a business, you can use this as well with your teams or enterprise. Those have monthly fees, obviously, and money per user, which is pretty standard. But those prices are fantastic, and this kind of gives you an idea of all of the different options that you have under the enterprise. So, one of the great ways of securing your password manager or securing your system is to use a powerful password manager. It allows you to create more complex passwords that you don't have to memorize. You'll have the ability to sync it across all of the different platforms that you use. It's a fantastic option. Michael, thank you for doing this video with me. Now people need to go to part 2, which I'll have linked in the show notes as well, a link to it where you can hear Michael talk about, actually show you the tool itself and some of the various uses.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to cover from the extensions of the browser, the app image that you can use for on your desktop, the two-factor authentication, the PIN system, which I love that PIN system. That's one of the things that they showed that a new feature, and I didn't even think about that. I was like,
yeah. One
of the things that I hated about LastPass was that you had to insert your ridiculous long password or save it so that it was no longer a secure system.
Right.
And I have a ridiculously long password, and I don't want to type it in every time. And then I was like, when I switched to Bitwarden and I saw the PIN system, I was like, they covered everything.
Yep.
So, yeah, we're going to cover all of that in the video on tuxdigital.com.
All right, everyone. So get out there, check out Bitwarden, check out Michael's video, and until next time, fill your brains!
Don't forget to subscribe! And make them if you like this video.